Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, once again, I have a couple of stories. One involving the Chicago Mothman again, folks, and another involving spherical UFOs. Let's get into the first article, titled, Winged Humanoid Encounters in DuPage County, Late Night Sightings in Wayne and Carroll Stream, Illinois. Let's read this article and hear once again how Chicago Mothman has been witnessed. In the western Chicago suburbs, a cluster of late-night encounters has drawn renewed attention to the ongoing winged humanoid phenomena in DuPage County. Within a short distance of one another, witnesses in Wayne and Carroll Stream reportedly strikingly similar incidents involving humanoid figures gliding directly in front of moving vehicles. These reports raise important questions about movement patterns, behavior, and whether this activity represents a localized recurrence rather than isolated events. Good opening, folks, indeed. What does this all actually mean, folks? Let's get into these accounts now. Wayne, Illinois encounter September 2022. In mid-September 2022, an eyewitness, AM, reported a brief but startling encounter while traveling near his home in Wayne. At approximately 10 p.m. local time, AM and a passenger were driving south on Mountain Ash Drive, approaching the intersection with Smith Road when a large humanoid form suddenly appeared. According to AM, a black human-like figure approximately 6 to 7 feet in length swiftly glided across the roadway approximately 10 feet in front of his vehicle. The wings and arms were tightly tucked against the body, and the entity moved from east to west without any visible wing flapping. The headlights briefly illuminated the figure, revealing a distinctly human head and body. The event unfolded so quickly that AM could not discern facial features. However, he emphasized that the overall form was not avian. It did not resemble any known bird. At the time of the encounter, AM had no prior knowledge of winged humanoid reports in the Chicagoland area. Only afterward, while searching for explanations, did he discover similar cases. He was open, cooperative, and expressed interest in assisting with future investigations. Very interesting, folks. What did AM see? Was it actually Mothman? Now, there has been differences between these Mothman encounters and the Point Pleasant ones back from 1967 and 68, folks, and so on. Basically, these accounts basically have these entities look far more human, at least basically having a more humanoid body, while the Point Pleasant ones have basically this entity with basically eyes in its shoulders. So you get the idea there, folks, but there's more to it. Let's read the next encounter that took place in this county, folks. Carroll Stream, Illinois encounters summer 2020. Approximately 2 years earlier, another witness identified as ECM reported 2 separate encounters in Carroll Stream, also in DuPage County. Both incidents occurred late at night, around 3 a.m., near ponds off Morton Road. During the first encounter, ECM observed a small, roughly 4-foot-tall humanoid figure with brownish coloration, 2 legs, and bat-like wings. The entity lifted into the air from near a pond. At the time, the witness assumed it might have been a startled crane, though this explanation later seemed unlikely due to the nocturnal timing. The second encounter occurred at an intersection on Morton Road near the same pond. As the ECM waited at a stop sign, the figure moved through the intersection and then flew directly in front of the vehicle. Another nearby driver also stopped to observe the anomaly. The entity executed a sharp turn midair, allowing the witness to clearly see its bat-like wings as it passed through nearby backyards. ECM was adamant that it was not a large owl or any known bird species, which basically both experiencers and others in Chicagoland have repeatedly said, folks, this was not a bird, it was something else entirely. What was this entity? And how do they relate to the original Mothman sightings? In those accounts, the entity was far more monstrous than these ones, folks. But then again, the Chicagoland incidents involved basically these humanoid flying entities, as well as giant owls and giant bats. So make of that what you will. Maybe there's a relationship? We can only basically keep digging until we do find it. But let's move on to the next article. White spherical object disrupts goose formation over Simi Valley. And read exactly what happened with this, once again, UFO encounter happening over America. Let's read on. In early December 2013, a daylight aerial anomaly was observed over Simi Valley, California during clear weather conditions. What initially appeared to be an unusual bird quickly revealed itself as something far more difficult to explain. The encounter is notable for its interaction with wildlife and its abrupt, unexplained disappearance. let's get into the actual story now. On the morning of December 5th, 2013, I observed a flock of geese flying east in a standard V formation as I watched a bright white object approach the formation from the west and below at an estimated 45-degree angle. At first, I assumed it might be another bird attempting to join the group. However, its color and movement immediately struck me as unusual. As the object drew closer, I could not identify any wings, head, or other appendages. It appeared perfectly spherical, with a mirror-like reflective surface that flashed intermittently. The reflections did not resemble wing movement or sunlight reflecting off feathers. In size, the object seemed comparable to a goose or seagull. When the object reached the flock, the geese became visibly disorganized. The V formation broke apart and turned chaotic, as if the birds were attempting to regroup but could not. The white sphere positioned itself near the flock, roughly at an 8 o'clock position relative to their direction of travel, moving alongside them but not within the formation. It behaved as though it were pacing the group. I tried repeatedly to interpret the object as a bird, suspecting my eyes might be misleading me. Despite this, I could only perceive a smooth, spherical object. After approximately 1 minute, the entire flock and the white sphere vanished simultaneously. There were no clouds, obstructions, or terrain features that could explain their disappearance. Now, everyone, I'm having a hard time coming up with a rational explanation to understand why this UFO apparently, stole these geese. Maybe it took it as some sort of, biosample, perhaps? I'm not quite sure. Skeptics will argue still that he was just seeing things. But maybe they wouldn't come up with a rational explanation to actually what he saw. Either way, let's read on, folks. I changed my viewing position several times again, a different perspective, still assuming there must be a simple explanation. Initially, I fixated on the idea that it might have been an albino goose. Only several minutes later did I register that something far more unusual may have occurred. There were no sounds, no aircraft, and no additional objects visible. The sky was clear with high visibility. The only observed elements were the geese and the white spherical object. The approximate coordinates of the sighting are 34, 1739 north, 118, 41, 42 west. The altitude is unknown. I'm not surprised about that, folks. But then again, the fact that this guy basically did remember to get the exact coordinates of the sighting is good enough, I would say. But him getting the altitude, yeah. With what he saw, folks, I doubt that a lot of people would basically, be able to do that because it's so bizarre. That basically, that part would basically be one of the things that I could imagine people skipping. Either way, let's finish off this article. I am not attempting to draw conclusions. I believe there may be a rational explanation that has simply not occurred to me. I appreciate any insight that could help clarify what was witnessed. There's also an addendum from the witness, folks, with a little more information. I was observing from a position south of the flight path, looking north and slightly east. The flock was traveling east. I was the only witness. I am willing to answer additional questions and sincerely appreciate the work being done to document these reports. K. What did K see here, folks? Did he actually see a UFO take these geese? Now, I had a thought that maybe all of this was an illusion, folks. Perhaps some sort of holographic illusion that some people have specified before, folks, might be the reason behind some UFO encounters, folks. That the government set up some sort of hologram or illusion and people see it. This could explain why this UFO suddenly disappeared along with the geese. It was all part of some mammoth illusion basically being played out for anyone to witness. Why? As I said before, folks, with so many other live streams and, videos before, that the government wants us to believe that aliens are real and they will fake these landings to make us believe them. But then again, there's a good chance that this particular incident was a real encounter with a UFO. Perhaps this UFO was taking these, geese back as some sort of sample for scientific study, perhaps. Or maybe these UFOs are taking animals back, like geese, because they want to have flocks of them, or maybe herds, on their home planets. It has been said before that, UFOs have been seen sucking up water from, ponds and rivers. I can also imagine they're, taking animals back for their own purposes. Either way, like the first article with the Mothman, we still don't know or have any idea why they're here. But maybe one day we will. Anyway, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure at the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video. So be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.